Right now, somewhere on Earth, a human being is deliberately setting a plant on fire and breathing it in. We do it knowing it can hurt us. And somehow, we have been doing it for thousands of years. But here is the question almost nobody asks. Who was the very first? The first human to look at smoke and think, I want that inside me. Not a company, not a cigarette, a person. Crouched by a fire long before anyone could write the moment down. To find them, we have to travel back to a time when smoke meant only one thing: danger. Because for almost the entire human story, smoke was the enemy. Think about what it told them. Smoke means fire. Fire means the forest is burning. The camp is burning. Run. Every animal on Earth shares the same instinct. Smell smoke and flee. Your body still does it today. So how did the one animal that runs from smoke become the only animal that chases it? To understand that, we have to go back to the night humans first tamed fire. Somewhere around 1 million years ago, our ancestors did something no creature had ever done. They kept a fire alive. And once you live beside fire every single night, you start to notice things. Like the simple fact that not all smoke is the same. Throw a pine branch on the flames, you get one smell. A handful of dry herbs, another. A strange root, something else entirely. The campfire quietly became the first laboratory on Earth, and nobody ever planned a single experiment. And here is where it gets interesting. Some plants, when they burned, did far more than smell nice. One kind of smoke made you cough and choke. Another seemed to soften a pounding headache. And the few rare plants, their smoke could bend what you saw and heard and felt. Imagine being the very first person to breathe that in. With no word for hallucination, no explanation at all. You would not think chemistry. You would think magic, spirits. The plant is alive, and it is speaking to me. And that single misunderstanding may have changed human culture forever. Because if smoke could speak to you, then maybe it could speak to something far bigger than you. All across the ancient world, smoke became sacred. A rising column you could actually watch climb toward the heavens. Incense burned in temples, from Egypt to India to the Americas. Not to smell good, to carry prayers upward. Watch the smoke rise and vanish into the sky. And it becomes very easy to believe the gods are breathing it in. But some cultures did not just send the smoke up, they pulled it in. Healers across the ancient world burned herbs and breathed the fumes to fight pain, sickness, and what they believed were bad spirits. And we still have the evidence, buried in the ground. High in the mountains of Central Asia, archaeologists opened a burial site that was roughly 2,500 years old. Inside, they found small wooden braziers packed with burnt stones and the chemical traces of one very particular plant. A plant that modern platforms would really rather I did not say out loud. You almost certainly know the one. They were burning it in an enclosed space, gathered around their dead, almost certainly to breathe the smoke. A funeral and a vision at the very same time. But here is what is wild. They were almost certainly not doing it to get high for fun. For them, the altered feeling was the entire point of the ritual. A way to touch the spirit world and say goodbye. Smoke, medicine, religion, and mystery, all tangled together into a single rising thread. Now cross the entire planet to a completely separate human story. In the Americas, indigenous peoples had their own sacred smoke, and it came from one plant above all others: tobacco. But forget everything modern cigarettes ever taught you. To them, this plant was a gift, and it was holy. They smoked it in carved pipes, in ceremony, to seal peace, to pray, to heal, to mark the biggest moments of a life. Smoke carried your words up to the Creator. You did not waste it. You did not abuse it. For thousands of years, across thousands of miles, smoke meant nearly the same thing almost everywhere. Sacred, careful, rare. So here is the question that haunts this whole story. How did we get from that to this? From a sacred plant breathed once at a funeral to a paper tube burned 1,000 times a year alone. Somewhere along the line, the smoke stopped being a prayer and quietly became a habit. And then a product. Grown, dried, rolled, sold, and pushed onto the entire world. The ritual was stripped away. And what was left was the one thing that keeps you coming back. The craving. And let us be honest about where that road actually leads. Modern smoking is not sacred, and it is not safe. It kills more than 8 million people every single year. The ancient mystery became a modern tragedy. So no, this is not a love letter to smoking. It is something stranger than that. It is the story of the exact moment a terrified animal stopped running from smoke and instead invited it in. The first smoker has no name, no grave we can point to, no date on any calendar. Just a flicker of firelight, a curl of grey smoke, one single curious breath, and every one of us still sitting around that very same ancient fire. And if you felt that little pull of curiosity just now, that is the exact thing that started all of this. Subscribe and keep breathing it in.